I think I might be the reason we're stuck. Well, you're probably right, or at least partly right. You don't have a willpower problem. You have a stage problem. And this is why working harder makes it worse instead of better. Hold. You cannot out-discipline a hold. You're not stuck because of who you are. You're stuck because of where you are. If you're a founder feeling stuck, you've probably had a thought that sounded something like, I think I might be the reason we're stuck. Well, you're probably right, or at least partly right. But I'm here to tell you that it's not the character flaw you're afraid it is. I'm Dori Etter, and this is Below the Waterline, the leadership work no one else talks about. You're not stuck because of who you are. You're stuck because of where you are. There are 5 stages that every founder moves through as a company grows. Yet, these 5 stages are almost never named, which means you can't tell what stage you're in or what stage the business actually needs you in next. Today, I'm going to give you the whole map. I'm going to give you the 2 places almost every founder finds themselves stuck in at one time or another, and the part most people miss completely, which is that the stage you're in tells you exactly what to work on next. Stay with me and you'll be able to define your stage and what to work on next before this episode is over. Let's get into it. So today's conversation is for a specific kind of founder. I'm speaking to the founder who has at least thought, I might be the problem. The founder who has at least a basic level of self-awareness to know that what's happening in your business isn't separate from yourself. So you've done the reading, maybe you've even said the words out loud to someone, I might be the problem. You can see it. You see the decisions that pile up around you. You know that your team waits for you. You're not really in denial about it, but you still can't stop. And that's the part that's maddening. It's one thing to be stuck and not know why. It's another thing to really be able to name it and yet watch yourself do the exact same thing every Monday anyway. So let me tell you about a founder I work with. I'm going to keep the details vague for confidentiality. He spent more than 20 years building a software company. He built the product himself in the early days with his own hands. So he knows how every part of it works. He knows every person who works there. The culture is very, very close, almost like a family. And he is proud of that culture, rightly so. And he is in everything. He's in the development decisions. He's in department conversations. He builds spreadsheets. And at one point, he even said to me, almost the exact words, I think I'm too deep into everything. So think about that for a moment. He diagnosed himself out loud, speaking to me. That is not a man who lacks awareness. And yet he was still in all of it the next week and the week after that. So here's what I want you to notice. Awareness was not the lever. He had all the awareness in the world. So knowing that you're the bottleneck does not move you out of being the bottleneck. If it did, he'd have been free years ago. If it did, many of the founders I work with would have been free long before they called me. If you've had this feeling, you've explored a few explanations for why you can't seem to step back, and I want to clear them off the table because they're probably wrong. The first is that it's a time management problem. If you just had a better system, if you blocked your calendar, if you got more discipline with your hours, but you are not undisciplined. You couldn't have gotten your company to where it is if it were a discipline problem. Discipline was never missing. So the next place you look is that it's a delegation problem. The fix is just to delegate more, except you've tried that. You handed things off and they came back. I spoke about this in episode 1, right? You let it go. It stays for a little bit. Eventually, you're right back in the middle of everything. So delegate more can't be the answer because you already tried that and that didn't work. So here is the truth underneath all of it. You don't have a willpower problem. You have a stage problem. The business has moved to a stage that needs a different version of you, and awareness alone does not carry you there. Only alignment. Aligning yourself and your actions to the stage that your business needs is the key. So let me show you what I mean. Here's the map. I call it the founder alignment arc. It tracks one thing, the relationship between your energy in the business and what the business actually needs from you. It sits on a foundation most frameworks miss. Usually we measure ourselves by capability. Can I do this? And you can. You've proven that for years. But alignment asks a different question. Is this what the business needs most from me right now? See, you can be the best in the building at something. And if the business no longer needs that from you, you're out of alignment. So let me take you through the arc. The founder alignment arc has 5 stages. They cover the arc of a founder in a business. I'm going to cover all 5, but we'll deep dive into the 3 that you grapple with as you grow your business. The first stage is operator alignment. This is where the business needs you inside it. You're doing the work, you're making the calls, you're holding the standard with your own hands. And when the company is young, this is the right stage for you to be in. This is the origin. So you don't apologize for it, right? It's never a problem to be an operator. The problem is staying one after the business needs you to become something else. Now, the next stage is manager alignment. This is where the business needs you above it, not inside it. So your work stops being the work, like the doing of your business, and it starts becoming building systems and supporting the people who are actually doing the work. So you're building leaders, you're setting standards, you're making sure things get done without your hands on every output. This is the first stage where getting better at your job means doing less of what you're personally best at. And that's why it's hard. Now, the next stage is really the stage a lot of what I'm going to talk about is driving us toward. It's called architect alignment. In architect alignment, the business needs your vision, but not your constant presence. You set direction, you design how the company runs, and then it runs without you in the middle of every decision. You set the true north, and then the team tacks the boat to that destination. Things hold when you're gone. And you're not absent, you're actually elevated. In architect alignment, you have choice. And that's really what most founders are looking for. With that choice, you can decide to stay in the architect stage. It's really a great place to be an entrepreneur. You get to see what you built grow, you steer the ship, but you aren't in everything. You have leaders leading and a structure that serves your goals. And if you want even more freedom, maybe on to the way to an exit, you would want to move towards the next stage, which is steward alignment. Steward alignment is less about your leadership and more about you watching for who are the right leaders to take your business to the next level without you. From there, you can go into chairman alignment. And this is where the business needs your name and your wisdom, but not your decisions. You're the origin story, but not the engine. This is all about succession work, and that will be an entire season of its own, where you work both above and below the waterline in very new ways. So the thing that makes the founder alignment arc useful isn't that this is some ladder to climb. It's really an instrument, a diagnostic that helps to know what to focus on when. Applied right, it can help you see how things are going department by department, as well as your business as a whole. So let me show you how it works. Any stage isn't wrong. It's information. It's knowledge. So when you're small enough, early enough, operator stage is where the business genuinely needs you. Before you put the above the waterline structures in place, your business often needs you in the operator stage. Working on the structure is appropriate. You need to build the things that need to exist for manager stage to be available to you. An accountability chart that matches how decisions get made, a meeting rhythm the team can run without you, real measurement, a designed way for information to move between your people instead of all routing through your head. When you've built the structure and you still can't step back, the constraint isn't structural anymore. it moved below the waterline. So it's not a system you're missing, it's a belief you're holding. And that's the identity work most operating systems and consultants never touch. Let's remember, structure first, but if you're just tweaking structure, trying to figure out why you can't get out of your business, it's probably a below the waterline constraint. More structures and more spreadsheets will not free you from a below the waterline constraint. You're past the structural problem and you're into the belief. And that's exactly where founders get stuck, in two specific places, often for the same reason. So the first place is the jump from operator to manager. And what blocks it is often control and fear. Your hands won't let go of the work because letting go feels like risk. And often in a company where you feel like your family, it feels like something even worse. It feels like you'd be betraying the culture you built by making it more structured and more accountable and just being less personally involved. The second place is the jump from manager to architect. And what blocks that one is often identity. So by now, you can let some of the work go, but being the person at the center, being the one who holds it all together, the builder, that has become your identity. It's who you are. In that case, the business has actually gotten ready before you feel ready. Maybe you have an inner voice might be asking, if I'm not the one holding it, then who am I? Now, let me bring my founder back, the one who said, I think I might be the reason we're stuck. He had built the structure. He had done the planning. He ran the meetings. The team had real rhythm. By the book, the above the waterline work was there, and he was still pulled into everything. And that's the tell. When your structure exists and you're still in the middle, the diagnosis is finished. The constraint is no longer system above the waterline. It's actually below the waterline. So it turned out there were three things happening below the waterline. First, he believed his involvement was the quality standard. So if he wasn't touching it, it could always be better. That's what I call a control hold. Second, he was the person who built the product from the ground up. So stepping back didn't feel like progress. It felt like losing himself. That's an identity hold. Finally, he was terrified that more structure would damage the culture he loved. And that's a fear hold. Now, none of these can be fixed with better spreadsheets or more SOPs. They require another level of engagement below the waterline, where we explore transforming identity and examining long-held beliefs. I talked about this a bit in episode 1. The metaphor for how you move through these stages is the difference between a GPS organization and a compass-led organization. An operator stage company runs on GPS. It needs you giving turn-by-turn directions all day, every turn. An architect stage company runs on a compass. The team has the judgment to navigate on their own, and you set the direction. The whole arc is the road from GPS to compass. And this is why working harder makes it worse instead of better. When you pour more effort into the stage you've already outgrown, you don't break out of it, you actually dig in deeper. Now you become an even better operator, which means the company leans on you even harder, which means the bottleneck gets tighter. So effort is not what moves a founder along this arc. Alignment is. Now, one more thing before we get to the application for this week. There may be areas or departments in your business where you are in a manager stage while you are still in the operator stage in others. You could possibly be in an architect stage with a department where you never considered you're an expert, so you relied on a strong leader early on. This isn't a simple binary distinction of are you or aren't you. The power of the founder alignment arc is the clarity of where to work, above or below the waterline. If you take on this week's application, you'll see exactly what I'm pointing to here. So here's your work this week. I want you to identify yourself along the founder alignment arc. 3 actions. 1, name the stage the business actually needs you in right now. Not where you are, but where it needs you. Operator, manager, or architect. Be honest about the size, the shape of the company, not your habits. Secondly, I want you to look at your above the waterline structure. What is genuinely built and running, and what's missing or only lives in your head? So make the short list of what isn't actually there yet. The third action is find the places where the structure already exists, and there's a clear owner, a clear system, but you still pull the work back to yourself. I want you to circle those. This is going to give you clarity. The missing structure, that's your above the waterline work, and it's buildable. The circled items, the places where the systems exist and you reach back in anyway, that's your limitation below the waterline. That's a hold. You cannot out-discipline a hold. You have to see it to make a shift. So take these 3 actions. If you want to explore where you are in the founder alignment arc in more depth, I've created a short assessment that you can assess from the link in the description. If you look at where you land and you want to have a conversation about what to do about it, there's a way to book a call with me on the other side. This arc is a new map. This hasn't been named in EOS or any of the other models. It's a map to show you where to actually go to work to move you toward architect alignment. Architect alignment is the place where you're doing your great work and you're free rather than trapped. So I want you to remember you are not the problem. You're just not in alignment with what your business really needs from you. That's not a flaw to fix. It's a road to walk. And now you can see the path. I'm Dori Etter, and this is Below the Waterline. I'll see you next week.